Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm going to be reciting some Quran. I'm going to be reciting a Susi riwayah, so if it sounds a little bit different, it's not a mistake, it's just that it's a different qira'ah of the Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها كعرض السماء والأرض أعدت للذين آمنوا بالله ورسله ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. ما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسكم إلا في كتاب من قبل أن نبرأها إن ذلك على الله يسير. لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما أتاكم والله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. الذين يبخلون ويأمرون الناس بالبخل ومن يتول فإن الله هو الغني الحميد هو الغني العزيز. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وآمنوا برسوله يؤتكم كفلين من رحمته ويجعل لكم نورا تمشون به ويغفر لكم يؤتكم كفلين من رحمته ويجعل لكم نورا تمشون به ويغفر لكم والله غفور رحيم. لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط وأنزلنا الحديد فيه بأس شديد ومنافع للناس وليعلم الله من ينصره ورسله بالغيب إن الله قوي عزيز. ولقد أرسلنا نوحا وإبراهيم وجعلنا في ذريتهما النبوة والكتاب فمنهم مهتد وكثير منهم فاسقون. ثم قفينا على آثارهم برسلنا وقفينا بعيسى ابن مريم وآتيناه الإنجيل وجعلنا في قلوب الذين اتبعوه رأفة ورحمة ورهبانية ابتدعوها ما كتبناها عليهم إلا ابتغاء رضوان الله ورهبانية ابتدعوها ما كتبناها عليهم إلا ابتغاء رضوان الله فما رعوها حق رعايتها فآتينا الذين آمنوا منهم أجرهم وكثير منهم فاسقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وآمنوا برسوله يؤتكم كفلين من رحمته ويجعل لكم نورا تمشون به ويغفر لكم يؤتكم كفلين من رحمته ويجعل لكم نورا تمشون به ويغفر لكم والله غفور رحيم لئلا يعلم أهل الكتاب ألا يقدرون على شيء من فضل الله وأن الفضل بيد الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. بارك الله فيكم.
Barakallahu fikum for that recitation. Well, Nasr was very beautiful. It's genuine. Inviting Brother Guled Noor onto the table. If you could speak to us about the fitna of the dunya.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The first thing I just want to address is, it's the first time I'm seeing these things, so I'm not contaminated, so don't worry. I don't know, maybe it's for safety reasons, I'm not sure. But as the brother mentioned, my talk is about the fitna of the dunya. And as our brother Nasir nicely and beautifully recited for us, the verses in Surah Hadid, where Allah mentions, يَعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ وَزِينَةٌ وَتَفَاخُرٌ بَيْنَكُمْ وَتَكَاثُرٌ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ. So Allah gives us a parable of what this dunya is. And today especially, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Today especially, the dunya is something that is prioritized by a lot of youngsters from an early age, very early. And it's become a mindset for them, which they've built within themselves as a goal, when rather this is a means and a destination, as the Prophet told us, كُن فِي الدُّنْيَا كَأَنَّكَ غَرِيبٌ أَوْ عَابِرُ السَّبِيلِ. Be in this world as a stranger, or someone who's on a journey. That we're only here for a moment, but people have made this dunya now into the goals, into the means. You only live once. Get that money. I only want to marry Elizabeth. Queen's head, that's all I'm after. These statements reoccur from the youngsters. So Allah gives us a parable of what the dunya is in this verse. And He says, "I'lamu," know that the hayat al-dunya is just live. It's just play. All we do is just play. You know when a kid goes to a playground, you take him for an hour, 2 hours, he just goes there, plays until he gets tired and he's done? That's what the dunya is. It's just play. Allahu is just amusement. And zinatu wa tafakhuru baynakum is something of beautification, made to look beautiful. And then people compete in that. And we see this, you know, especially when a person now, the importance of university, going to university? What's the means? Why are you going to university? To get a good job. Why are you getting a good job? To get good pay. Why are you getting good pay? To live a good life. So at the beginning, in our education system, is being put in our brains that the dunya is our goal, and that we are made to become workers. That your goal, you learn, spend 20 years of your life, majority of your youth, majority of your parents' money, in becoming an employee for a company, and in working there for another amount. You save that money. Once you save that money, you've reached the age now where either your health is deteriorating or that money is now going towards your kids, which you have, and you're putting that money towards them, who in return benefit from the wealth which you compiled and wasted majority of your time for, and then after that, death is what awaits. So this dunya, Allah gives us a parable that is just something which is a play, amusement, something beautification, and something which people just show off and compete. In amwal and awlad, in money and in children. So Allah, who's the creator of this universe, who is the founder and who has more rights to have ownership over it, is given us the parable of what this is. That is nothing. That is just a moment. You talk to your friends, you have a laugh, and then that's it. That is the dunya. It goes like that. And also we see in our bodies that the human, he starts off weak, as Allah told us, that we're born weak. And then we reach an age where we become strong. And in that, we waste our time in other things if we don't benefit from it. And then from that we go to a stage of being weak. So we start off as babies, then we become teenagers up until 40, and then from then onwards we're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. That is our life. And in that period of our strength, we're spending it in chasing the dunya, spending it in frivolous things which will perish. And then by the time the person realizes it, what does he say to himself? He said, I wish I could go back. I wish, like the poet said, that I wish I could go back and become young again, which is something impossible. Also, the Prophet ﷺ warned his companions about the dunya and how frivolous it is. Abu Ubaid ibn Jarrah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sent him to Bahrain to collect the jizya. On his return, when he was coming back, the companions heard of his returning. So they all gathered around, and the Prophet recognized that they heard of the news that he was returning. In that moment, you have to understand, so the companions are all there gathering. Some wealth is going to be brought back. In this opportunity, the Prophet gives them an advice. He says, فَوَاللَّهِ مَا الْفَقْرَ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَكِنِّي أَخْشَى أَن تُبْسَطَ الدُّنْيَا عَلَيْكُمْ كَمَا بُسِطَتْ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ فتنافسوها كما تنافسوها فتهلككم أهلكتهم. The Prophet is telling them that he's swearing by Allah, and the Prophet doesn't need to swear by Allah. That he doesn't fear for them poverty, but rather what he fears for the companions, and not just the companions, us as well, who are part of his ummah, that the dunya becomes open to us, becomes available to us, becomes accessible to us, which we see today, at this time, especially living in the West. If you go back to the majority of our home countries, there's poverty which is stricken there. Or if you go to some of the Muslim lands, a majority of the Muslim lands, there's poverty there. So us living in the West, we are seeing the amount of wealth and the opportunities to gain that wealth. Just you knowing English itself, right now, is wealth itself, outside of the UK. And you will see that when other people are trying to learn the language which you was born into, and which you learn, and they are willing to pay you, and you don't have a teaching degree in it, they are willing just to pay you, just for you to talk to them, have a conversation, for them to be able to learn from you English. I'm just giving you basics. That's just you, born in this country, knowing English, outside, you've already got a job, without no degree. So the Prophet is warning us and his companions that he fears for us not poverty but the dunya opening up and being available to us. Like it was available to the previous nations and they competed in it. And they, had a competition. You got that car, I'm going to get this car. You got the iPhone 7, I'm going to get the iPhone 10. You got the Samsung, no, I'm going to get the Samsung S8. You got what? The latest Nike trainers, I'm going to get the latest ones that come out. Oh, there's new Jordans released every month, I'm going to get the next one. And he's got the latest, so we're all in competition. That's what the Prophet is warning us, until it destroys us. So the Prophet is not just warning his companions, but he's also warning us. And there's something important just to show you how available and how powerful these brands are. That recently Nike put out a hijab. Nike put out a hijab. And I honestly believe, I don't know of anyone, but I put this out there, and someone may tell me later on, you know what, you're right, or someone out there, but I honestly believe that there was someone who didn't wear hijab. Now that Nike came out with a hijab, she wears it, because Nike came out with it. And I honestly believe that if Nike came out with a qamis, you'll see a lot of brothers on road wearing qamis, with the Nike tags. So these brands have powerful influences over us to the extent that we may not notice it. And not only them, but sometimes, have you ever noticed, what is this brand? Like a brand randomly comes out of nowhere and it costs about £200. And you can't even pronounce the name. What is this? But what they do is they use the influence of people, because people, they have followers, and then from those followers, what they do is they advertise, and then from that, people are like, wow, you know what, he's wearing it, so I want to become like him, and then after that. So these brands are just using these famous people, you could say, as tools for us to compete in this dunya. Not only that, the brands we buy, or the products which we buy, all have an expiry date. No one is buying anything to last forever. That shows you the reality of this dunya. That what we're buying, we're expecting something new to come out in replacement. And we're expecting what we have to die. So if we expect that for brands, and we expect that there's something new, I need to fulfill, then what are we truly filling ourselves with? Because you as a human being, you have your physical side and you have your spiritual side. And if all day you're just filling your physical side, then the spiritual is just dying. And these brands will never, or these products will never ever fill that empty consumerism, as they call it, coming from capitalism. So there's a whole backdrop to all of this. But Allah has given us the insight previously that this world is something temporary, that we were put on this earth to worship Allah, and that we are put on this earth to put forward our good actions for a day where we cannot do no more actions, and we'll be held account for the actions that we did. Also, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to seek refuge in his dua from poverty and from being someone rich, in the sense that the Prophet used to say, أعوذ بك من فتن الفقر ومن فتن الغنى. That the Prophet used to seek refuge from the fitna of poverty. Because when a person's poor, it's very tempting to take haram means, and we see this a lot, especially someone who comes out of prison, he has a criminal record, and now he can't go into finding a good paid job. And then not only that, the stigma of having his background is very difficult. So he's very tempted to go back to the old means of haram to get money due to the poverty, because he's got bills to pay. Or a father, he has kids, and the money he has right now, which is the job he's at, is not enough. And a friend says, you know what, I know a backdoor route which will get you good money. It's very tempting, due to the severity of the poverty that the person is suffering. So the Prophet used to seek refuge from that. And he used to seek refuge from the richness. Because being rich, it has its benefits, no doubt. But at the same time, it has is flaws. In the aspect of the fitna of being wealthy is that you get comfortable and you don't feel, when you're going through calamity, that's what makes a person remember Allah. Everyone's healthy right now. They don't count the blessing of their health. As it was said, health is like a crown on the healthy one, only the sick one can see. So when you're sick, then you realize the value of your health. When you're busy, then you realize the value of your free time. When you're old, then you realize the value of your youth. So these things are only seen at the end. So the person who's rich doesn't feel, you know what, I made this a lot of money, I made this. It was through me. I got a lot. I'm powerful. X, Y, and Z. And then from that, the person gains arrogance. And then from that, the person allows him to enter paths of sin. So the Prophet used to seek refuge from those two. Also, the Prophet ﷺ gave us a parable of what this dunya is. He mentions, لو كانت الدنيا تعدل عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى كافرا منها شربة ماء. Narrated in Tirmidhi, that if this world had weight in the sight of Allah, then Allah would never feed a kafir, give him a drink of water. A kafir, if Allah viewed this world, if Allah gave the weight of this world like the wing of a mosquito. Everyone knows a mosquito, yeah? That wing, not just the mosquito, the wing of the mosquito. If Allah viewed the dunya that much, then Allah would never give a drink of water, a sip, to one who is a disbeliever in him. That is the one who created the universe. That it means nothing in the sight of Allah. And some Muslims you see today, they may say to themselves, you know what, look at so-and-so, he's not Muslim, and look at the life he's living. For example, someone may say, look at Drake. Look at the life he's living. He's smiling all the time. He's got good living. It looks like he's having fun. But that's only apparent of what we see, brothers and sisters. It's the surface. Because behind that, there's trials and tribulations that you don't get to see. They only put out, just like in social media today, what you want them to see. I could portray that I'm a rich man on social media. I may know someone who owns a car, 2017 plate, or 2018 now. And I may say to him, can I just take a pic in front of it? Or let me take a pic in the seat. So I'll take a pic. And some people, they've told me, they collect pictures, they collect it, so they can post it throughout the week to show as if they're traveling, weekly. As they say, catch flights, not feelings. As they're on the move, as if they're living that good life. So the Prophet is telling us that this world has no weight in the sight of Allah. So when a person sees that an individual is flourishing in this dunya, that shouldn't be a sign that Allah loves that individual. Because this world has no weight. A person could be the poorest of the poor. But wallahi, if he makes dua, it's accepted like that. And the person could have so much money, but it could be so distant from Allah. So the Prophet is informing us that the weight, so it's putting everything in perspective for us. That we know the value of this world. That I know. Now imagine a person who kills another person for this world. For something in this world. Would you kill someone for a wing of a fly or of a mosquito? You'd be crazy. That you're killing for less than that. So a person who's taking someone's life, or he's going to haram means, is doing it for something which has no value at all. So everything needs to be put in perspective, especially growing up, because the surroundings we're in is pushing this forward, the importance of this world. And you need to have value. In order to have value, you need to have respect. In order to have respect, you need to have wealth. In order to get married, to have the best girl, this and this and that, you need to have this. This dunya, you need to have it. But the Prophet is putting everything in perspective, in order, for the believer. So when he's moving forward in his life, that things are placed in order. That when a person, good comes his way, money comes his way, it won't increase in enjoyment. You know what, I got £100, I lost £100, it's all the same to me. I got £1 million, I lost £1 million, it's all the same to me. And that's how the Salaf were. That if income would come, it wouldn't increase them in any happiness. And when it would go, it would never make them sad. That's why they were able to give out so easily for the sake of Allah. When the Prophet was collecting the Abu Bakr, first of all, Umar said, today I'm going to beat Abu Bakr. I'm going to give half of my wealth to the Prophet. So he came with half. Then Abu Bakr came, and he came with everything. The Prophet asked him, what did you leave for your family? He said, I left Allah and His Messenger. He gave everything. What allowed him to give all of his wealth like that? To not have value for it, because everything was in perspective, it was in order. It was said to one of, they say, a hukama, like the intellectuals, the smart ones. It was said, a man, he collected a lot of money today. So the man said to him, okay, has he collected days as well? Meaning, has he got days to give out that money? The man said no. So then he said, that money doesn't mean anything. Because now, if you collect all that money and you died, who's going to benefit from it? Someone else. So your strength and effort and your youth and your time, which you wasted in collecting this money in this world, as soon as you die, it's going to be a fight for it. I get this much, I get that much. No. And we've seen it. Or we've heard of it, that people fighting over inheritance, it's real stuff. Fighting, going to court over what their parents worked for. And the parents, what were they working for? For themselves probably. To use it, to have a good, retirement. Qadar Allah, they die before they can spend it. And then what? Their kids are going to benefit from it. If they're not righteous, then what? They're not going to remember them at all. And they're going to spend that and waste it. And that money is your time and your effort. So be careful how you spend it. Also, the Prophet ﷺ gave us a parable of a person who looks for fame and the one who looks for the dunya, looks for wealth. The Prophet said that 2 hungry wolves. So the Prophet has given us a description. 2 hungry wolves are let loose on a flock of herds of sheep. What destruction will they do? 2 hungry wolves. A wolf by itself, it would mash up the place, it would destroy it. But they're hungry, so 2 of them, let loose, flock of sheep, they're going to demolish that place, finish it off. So the Prophet gave a parable of 2 hungry wolves, let loose on a flock of sheep. And he gave the parable of a person who seeks fame and wealth. So the Prophet said that the Prophet said that the wolves being let loose and them destroying the place is lesser compared to a person who looks for wealth and who looks for fame. How it destroys his deen is lesser compared to how the wolves would destroy that flock and it would finish it off. Is more lesser than a person who now seeks fame and wealth, how it destroys his deen. And especially now, in this time of social media, that anyone can make it. Today he's nobody, and tomorrow he's on Sky News, they're asking about his video which he done. And they're saying, please talk to us, how did you make that noise? Or how did you make that joke that was so funny? Or, wow, how did you make that trick? On news. It's newsworthy. So the person now, yesterday he was no one, and today he's someone through social media. And there are people who I've seen on social media that wallahi, he'll do anything. He'll go into a store and he'll start smoking. And he says, oh, look at me, and he's smoking in the store. And he gets security to come and to come take him out. And then afterwards, when he gets arrested or whatever, he gets ready, he said, look man, no one can stop me, this and that. Trying to become what? Famous. Or a person, he goes into a supermarket, he starts throwing himself on the stuff, and he starts destroying the place, and he starts playing around, and this becomes a trend they try to set. And this has happened, people become famous with this stuff. Or a person becomes famous for mocking people, and he puts their picture on that side, and he starts insulting them, talking about them, and ridiculing them. That's what he's known for, and that's what he's famous for. So people are going out of their way, trying to become famous. The Prophet said the one who's seeking fame and wealth destroys his deen more than those two wolves who are hungry, what they would do to the flock of sheep. Now, talking about wealth and how it can damage a person's deen and the fitna of it, a question may arise to a person, so shall I be poor then? Shall I not, aim to be rich? Shall I not aim to have money? This question was asked to Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah. They said to him, أَيَكُونُ الرَّجُلُ زَاهِدًا وَيَكُونُ لَهُ مَالٍ. That a person can be a zahid, aesthetic, someone who's free from the dunya, but have with him wealth? They asked this question. He said, Na'am. But if he's tested, he's patient. And if he's given, he's grateful. So at times of test, how are you when your wealth decreases? When maybe your even phone, which is part of your wealth, breaks, which is a test for you, because that's your whole life on there. When that goes, or it's been stolen, or you lost it, how do you feel to yourself? Are you patient, or are you like, why me? Or are you like, let me actually go and steal from someone else and get another phone? What means do you take? So if the person is patient, when tested, and when given he's grateful, then it's no problem. Ibn Qayyim mentions that when wealth is in your hand and not in your heart, it will never harm you. That if the person keeps it in his hand and not in his heart, and he can give it whenever he wants, no problem at all. Whatever large amount of debt, whatever someone requested from him, a brother's in need, the masajid need to raise something, he's like, I've got it, no problem at all. So the person, he has it in his hand and it's not in his heart, where he can't even give £1 from £1,000, example. He's got £1,000 on him, he doesn't even want to give £1. So Ibn Qayyim mentions that when wealth is in your hand and not in your heart, it won't affect you, even if you have a lot of it. But when wealth is in your heart and not in your hand, it will test and afflict the person with an affliction. Even if the person doesn't have any money, that the person will feel the pain of that wealth. He said, Wallahi, if I had that, it hurts. Because he has it in his heart, there's a need for it. Also, we have examples Allah mentioned in the Quran, and the Sunnah mentions it as well. Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman, that they were two prophets, but they were kings. So they were the most aesthetic of the dunya, meaning far away from it, but they were kings at the same time. And Sulaiman, his kingdom, no one ever had a kingdom like that. And under his control were the jinn. And under his control was the wind. He could make it come like that. It would go from there to there. So he had all of this kingdom and this greatness under his rulership, but he was still the most aesthetic. So it shows that a person can have the dunya, but it depends how it's attached to you and how you view it. Also, our Prophet ﷺ is an example. He was one who married. He got married. He had wealth. He did business. So the Prophet ﷺ was one who was involved in the dunya, who would work, who would get wealth, who had a family to provide for, but at the same time, he was the most aesthetic. And likewise Abu Bakr, and likewise Umar, and likewise Uthman, Ali, and so forth, like the rest of the companions. So we have examples of companions that were so rich that when their caravan used to come in to Medina, before it came in, the outskirts, that the floor would shake, like just how this table, like the water. It would shake like that. That's how much wealth they had. But still, it never got to them. Also, Ayyub al-Sakhtiyani, he gives an example of zuhud in this dunya is three things, he says. The most beloved to Allah and the highest in the sight of Allah and has the greatest reward with Allah is zuhud in your ibadah. Meaning that you don't associate no partners with Allah. You don't associate a creation of Allah. Or you don't associate, or you don't put in the same category a idol, or you don't put in that category a statue, or any sort of these things. That a person is aesthetic in his worship, that is sincerely for the sake of Allah. And that's the highest level he mentions. And that's the most greatest in the sight of Allah. The second which he mentions is zuhud in what Allah prohibits. That a person stays away from what Allah made haram. That he keeps himself distant from it. Allah mentions, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا زِنَا. Don't come close to zina. Fornication. Don't come close to it. He didn't say don't do it. Don't come close to it. Don't allow yourself to have means to go and fall into this. As it was said one time by a brother, it was a very nice statement. He said, lose yourself in the khair. You know, because someone asked him a question. How can someone, for example, have their trousers above their ankle? This was a question I asked. I asked to the brother. And he said that the person should get all of his trousers, go to the tailor and cut it all at ankle. Cut it all to the ankle. All of his trousers. And when the person feels low in iman and he wants to put his trousers below his ankle, he can't because he doesn't have the option to, because all of his trousers are what? Above the ankle. So you should lose yourself in the good. So you don't allow yourself means to fall back into that evil. So that's the second type, to be aesthetic from that which Allah made haram. The third is to be aesthetic in what Allah permitted. Meaning, it's not haram, but the person takes the precautions of staying away from this out of piety, you could say. Meaning, going extreme in that which is permitted. Because going extreme in it will then eventually lead you to falling into the haram. Because remember, your enemy, Iblis, doesn't stop. He wants you, and he's after you, to not go to Jannah. And he will push to wherever level he can. He will try to push you to shirk. If you can't do that, he'll try to push you to innovation. If you can't do that, he'll try to push you to major sins. If you can't do that, he'll try to push you to minor sins. If you can't do that, he'll try to push you to things which are not haram and they're not halal. They're just permitted. And he'll try to make you waste time in that. If you can't do that, he'll try to make you pick the lesser of the two evils. The lesser of the two goods. So you have two goods in front of you, he'll make you pick the lesser one. So it's an enemy, he doesn't get tired. And he's always trying to chase after you, he never gives up hope. And if he manages to make you fall into one of those categories, no doubt he's going to try to push you higher and higher and higher to the biggest of shirk. And the most beloved one to him is innovation. Because innovation is something that a person he's doing, he sees that he's getting reward for it. So how can you tell a person, brother, this is haram, don't do it? He said, bro, I'm getting rewarded for celebrating the Prophet's birthday. I'm getting rewarded. So what are you talking about? How is it haram? I'm just reading the Quran and that. I'm just saying, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. These stuff. Okay, we gather together, we do little things here and there. How's it haram? So the person is blinded because he thinks he's doing good, and that's the most beloved to Iblis. I would like to conclude with this, that Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu was asked by some people. They said to him, Ya Abul Hasan, sif lana ad-dunya. They said to him, Abul Hasan, describe for us the dunya. He said to them, shall I describe it in long detail, or do you want it short? He said, give it to us in short. He said, halaluha hisab, wa haramuha an-nar. That the halal of this dunya will be held account for it, and will be questioned for it. And the haram of it, anyone who indulges in it, the consequences of it is nar, the hellfire. So, in that short jumla, that is literally the dunya. To bring everything, I'll just conclude it with that, is that there are things which are halal for you to do. Do them, no problem, but you're going to be held account for it. Just remember. So be careful how you do it. And that which is prohibited, stay away from it. Because if you do indulge in it, then the consequences of it are the hellfire. Anything which I have said, which is wrong or incorrect, is from me and Shaitan, and Allah and His Messenger is free from it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين.
Barakallahu feekum, Brother Khaled. That was a very, very beneficial talk. Would brothers and sisters really benefit from it? I'm going to have these barriers removed. It just feels a bit, you know, like there's a barrier. There's no barrier, inshallah. We'll remove them in a second. But before that, I'm going to invite Brother Imran Ibn Masood. Don't know where he is. I'm going to invite him. Just give me a second, inshallah. Hey, it's just literally 60 seconds. It's just good. Can't start talking now, can we? We're mid-event, brothers. Joking, let's start now.
Yeah, brothers, come forward, inshallah. Come forward. Come forward, inshallah. Come forward, all of you. Brothers, come forward, inshallah. Unless, of course, you have a back issue or a medical issue, uncles can relax. But the youngsters, all of you come forward, inshallah. It's a sunnah. You know, in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's masjid, they never used to have a roof. And it was in the Arabian desert, and the sun used to be beating over their heads. And then sometimes the Sahaba would go and sit on the walls to get shade. And the Prophet ﷺ, still in that blazing heat, when the sun is above them, he would make them all come forward. Because it shows what? It shows unity. It shows unity of the Muslims. Muslims should be together. One time at night, the Sahaba, they all went and they were trying to find a place to sleep, and everyone slept in a different place. And they were scattered, and the Prophet said, nothing scattered you except for shaitan. So they all came so close together that they said that if they was to take a garment and throw it over them, it would have landed on all of them. That's how close they were. And brothers don't have, like, you know, rabies and allergies and all them things, so you can come close. Okay, let's begin, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers, inshallah, I'm here to talk to you about the issue of fitna. The Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, he told us in an authentic hadith narrated in the Sahih of Imam Muslim. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, fear the dunya. And then he told us right after that, fear the women. Brother Ghulayt just spoke to you about the dunya and the dangers of the dunya. And for a person to protect themselves from the fitna, from the trial, from the tribulation, from the test of the dunya. Inshallah ta'ala, I'm here to talk to you about the second part of the hadith, which is the test and the trial and the tribulation of the women. So my brothers, you have to pay attention, because some of the ulama, they explain why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned these two things. Because the women and the dunya are part of the same thing, is it not? Is a woman not part of the dunya? But why did the Prophet separate the two? Because the woman, her fitna is the dunya. And the fitna of the man is the woman. When a woman tries to check for a guy, she doesn't do it because she likes you. It's because she likes your watch or your car. She likes your trainers. If you got that Louis Vuitton, that Gucci, I don't know if you guys have that in Coventry. This seems like we're in the outskirts, but in London, where I'm from, we've got a thing called Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and that's the kind of thing. Do you guys have that? Yeah. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. This seems like more of a Lacoste kind of place. H&M. I'm joking. I was going to say Primark, but that would be too disrespectful. I'm joking, I'll take it back. But the point is that the reason the girl, she checks for a guy is because she knows that the guy's got the dunya. The guy's going to go to work, he's going to buy her the car, he's going to buy her the jewels, he's going to buy her the house, he's going to take care of her, right? That's why she wants a man. She doesn't want a man because of the man. She wants a man because of what the man's going to give to her. The same way, when the guys run after the dunya, when the guys run after the world, when they run after the money, when they run after the cars, the clothes, they don't do it because they really like the car. Unless your brother Abu Bakr. The reason why they do it is because they know this was going to get the girls. This was going to get the girls. Reality is, and some of you may not know the truth of this because you might be like, in your teens, but the brothers who are a little bit more older, who go to work, who kind of experience the reality of life, will tell you that they would much rather be happy living in their mum's basement, eating food and curry or bris or whatever else is that they're making, but they don't have to worry about anything, not paying no bills. And they would really live life like a bum. But the only reason they don't is because they know they need to get married. They don't need to get a woman. They know that no woman is going to marry a guy who's still living in his mum's basement. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't provide for himself. And nothing like that. So the only reason the guy goes out there and he does haram, for example, sells drugs, or he might even do it in a halal way, he gets a job and he makes money, is why? Because he knows this is what's going to get the girls. And the only reason that the woman, she goes and gets the guy, she dresses provocatively, she puts that makeup on for the guy, is why? Because she wants the money that the guy has got. Or she wants a guy who's going to treat her in that way. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he separated the two. And the reason I've given you this introduction is because if you missed it, sisters who are paying attention, even though the previous lecture was general and applicable to both male and female, the sisters should have been more clued on than the brothers. But now, brothers, since we're talking about the fitna that's directly your challenge, my challenge, then we have to really make sure we pay attention. But sisters, that doesn't mean that you guys can go and start wandering off and chit-chatting, because you have a central part to play in this discussion as well. If you are the fitna of the men, then you need to make sure that you take precautions and you also play your role and play your part, inshallah ta'ala. When you say that, it's when the feminists get upset, but don't worry, inshallah, we're going to work on it as we go along. So first and foremost, brothers, I want to talk to you in a way that many people might have not spoken to you, okay? Brothers, some of you have desires. Those of you who haven't, don't worry, you're young, and may Allah delay that for you as much as possible. But the ones of you who are elders, you've gone through puberty, you're starting to, you've had hormonal changes, you realize that, there's a species called a female, okay? And the female, you don't know why, but you're attracted towards the female. You like the female, you want the female, you want one. You might want 2, 3, 4, depending on your situation. I advise you to only get one though. But the point is that you want that, right? And I want to be the first to tell you, if you haven't already been told, brothers, please stop talking, that I want to be the first to tell you that there's nothing wrong with that. That desire for a woman is actually, it's not just okay, it's actually praiseworthy. It's part of manhood. It's a part of being a man. A man who doesn't desire women is actually deficient in his wujuda, he's deficient in his manhood. Why do I say this? Because the Prophet ﷺ was a man who had desire for women. The Prophet ﷺ said, from the things of this world that have been made beloved to me, from them is women. And we know he married, he had 11 wives, ﷺ. But then above that, the Prophet said, the thing that is the coolness of my eyes is the salah. So it wasn't extreme or over the top in any way, shape, or form. I want to mention to you a hadith in Sahih Bukhari. Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, he mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ had so much strength, so much desire, his manhood was so strong that he would be able to go and have intimate relationships with all of his 11 wives. all of his 11 wives, he would be able to go and be intimate with them. So Qatada rahimahullah, who was a imam from the Tabi'een, he was a student of the companions, he said he had that strength. The Prophet could, he could that strength, he had it there like that, he could, 11 women. And he said, yes. Anas ibn Malik said, brother, we used to say amongst ourselves that the Prophet had the strength of 30 men. The Prophet ﷺ had the strength of 30 men. So this is something that is praiseworthy. And a man who doesn't have that will say he has a deficiency in his manhood. And the reason I want to tell you that is because we live in a day and age where men are starting to get confused. Before they used to get confused, you know, he would be like, do I like guys, do I like girls? That's what a man would say. He would be confused, he would say, and a man would start thinking that he likes guys, right? But now it's worse. The guy is confused, am I a guy or am I a girl? You've got kids that are 8, 9 years old, and then they say, rather, you know, his name's Alex, say, no, call me Alexis. His name's Sam, no, call me Samantha. What's going on? So, I'm saying it's problematic. So it's important for me to tell you, because of the fitna that you face, if you like women, you're on the right track. Takbir! You understand? So brothers, remember that. Guys, Allah created them for girls. When you get married, you marry a woman, okay? Inshallah. Inshallah. Okay, good. Now, just to give you an example furthermore, Abdullah ibn Umar, brothers, please stop talking, okay? You guys are excited already, we haven't even got into the talk yet. Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, the son of Umar ibn Khattab, who was a great companion of the Prophet ﷺ and a scholar amongst the Sahaba. Do you know how he used to break his fast in Ramadan? When you fast, what do you fast for? You fast from 3 things, right? You fast from food, drink, and intimate relationships, right? So most of us, when we break our fast, what do we break it with? With food, right? With what? With food, like a date, right? Or a samosa from Pakistan, right? But Abdullah ibn Umar used to open his fast with his wife. He used to open his fast by being intimate with his wife. That was his iftar. His iftar was his wife, okay? And that narration is mentioned by... It's Muhammad ibn Sirin rahimahullah who mentions that. So inshallah ta'ala, I've got many examples like that. The final one I'll give you, no, inshallah, that will suffice, inshallah ta'ala. So, the point I'm making here is that men are inclined to women, and there's nothing wrong with that. But pay attention, and this is where it gets serious, and this is really what I want to talk to you about. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more time to not interrupt and talk. If you do, you're a very friendly guy, but I can also be quite an embarrassing person for you, because I've got the mic and the camera. So if I point towards you, I'll put you on blast on social media. You understand? So behave, don't interrupt me. The point I want to make to you is that men, they desire women, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem arises when the men try to go and they try to accommodate for that desire in a haram way. They will tell you, this is my girlfriend. This is my girlfriend. And he'll be linking her, he'll be speaking to her, he'll be slipping and sliding into her DMs. This is dangerous for you now, and you're not allowed to do that. The same thing, which is halal, and which is a sign of a man's manhood, and you get rewarded when you do it with your wife. That same thing, if you do it with anyone other than your wife, or that which has been made lawful for you, it is from the greatest sins. A sin that is from the mubikhat. The sins that will destroy you and dip you into the hellfire. It is from those sins where the Prophet ﷺ said he saw a group of people who were in an oven. They were naked and a fire would be lit underneath them. And that fire would burn them and lift them and raise them so high that it was like they were going to come out the top of the oven and they will come back down. They were being tortured and burnt and roasted and toasted in this furnace. Over and over again. And the Prophet said to Jibreel, Ya Jibreel, who are these people? Why are they being punished in this way? And he said, these are the men and the women who used to fornicate. These are the men and the women who do zina. They would do haram things with each other, and they were not married. So that same thing, which is a serious blessing, a serious sign of reward and manhood, can become from the greatest sins if you do it in haram. For that reason, my brothers, I'm here to talk to you about the danger of a woman. And when I say danger of a woman, my sisters, please don't get upset, because we're not necessarily saying here that you are in and within yourself dangerous. But there is a danger that can come from you if the man doesn't behave correctly and if the woman doesn't behave correctly. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say every woman is out there to seduce and get every guy. No, that's not what I'm saying. But the point is that if the sister doesn't take appropriate measures and the guy doesn't take appropriate measures, this is going to be a serious problem. And that problem will arise because the man has such a drive, has such a temptation for the woman that he's not able to control himself. So let's first and foremost talk about this issue. Forget boyfriend, forget girlfriend. I'm sure that I'm hoping that all of you, I'm not here to tell you this, you can't have a girlfriend. I'm hoping all of you guys know that. I'm here to go a step further. I'm here to tell you can't even look at a woman. I'm here to tell you can't even be friends with a woman. I'm here to say you can't talk to a woman. And you know, enough of this, she's just my friend. Sisters are like, yo, he's just my friend. They're like, he's just like my brother. What do you mean? So gross. I'm not going to do that. He's my brother. And the next thing you know, like, it's incest. Because he's linking with the girl that was supposed to be a sister. That's exactly what's happening. And it doesn't work like that, because Allah told us, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. Allah told us that Allah placed inside of the man desire for the woman. You desire her, my brother. You want her. Let's not beat around the bush. You like her. Men are not hanging around with girls because they're good at football, or they can go and bang weights in the gym together. There's only one thing that you want from her, consciously or subconsciously, so there's no way that you can be friends with her. Sisters, pay attention. Aisha radiallahu anha, she commented on this ayah and she said something powerful. She said, from the things that is our distress is that Allah started with the women. He started with us when He mentioned the various desires of a man. Because in that ayah, Allah mentioned men. He mentioned what? The desire for gold, for silver, for children, for fully bred horses, which would be the equivalent of cars today, occupation and career. These are things that we want, but the top of it was the women. The man, he wants the women more than he wants anything else. So because of that, Aisha radiallahu anha said, from our distress is that Allah started with us when He mentioned the desires of the men. For that reason, my sisters, you don't add, you don't help the problem and help to kind of, cool the situation when you come out of the house when you're wearing makeup. Sisters wearing makeup is problematic now, because what you're doing is you're activating these desires, you're activating it, and that's problematic. Allah told you to cover yourself for that reason. And we're going to go into this in a little bit more detail, inshallah ta'ala, to show you how covering is not just to protect the men from the women, but it's also to protect the women from the men. We're going to come into that, inshallah ta'ala. So the point here is that because the woman, the man desires her so much, my brothers, you have to pay serious caution and protect yourself to staying away from the woman. Because if you get trapped in the trap of a woman, if she does trap you, because again, if the feminists get upset, we're not saying every woman is trying to trap, but if you do, then that's going to destroy you. You will not be able to think right. Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah said that when a woman captivates a man, he starts to not think straight. I've seen guys who are men, they're, guys who are gangsters, drug dealers, okay? Looking over their shoulder every single time they come out the house. No one can mess with them. But how did they get robbed? Or how did they get dealt with? Have you heard of something called a honey trap? You know what a honey trap is? It's good, there's no drug dealers here, but let me tell you. A honey trap is basically when you send a woman in. You send a woman into the guy. She will take the guy, privately spend time, do haram with him, and then when she's distracted him, what will happen? Quickly they'll come, they'll stab him, they'll kill him, or they take his money away. So the biggest gangsters, they get what? They lose their mind, they lose their logic, everything flies out the window when a woman comes into the equation. Everything. And that's the extent to which a person will go crazy. We've seen guys getting violated by girls, like, bro, she's playing you. She's playing you, okay? She's talking to 2-3 other men at the same time, and he's still like a little lap dog, still running after her. No, she'll change. No, she really loves me. No, it was my fault. No, bruv! Your mind is not functioning properly because the woman has captivated you. We've seen brothers, wallahi, brothers who are memorizing Quran, giving da'wah, seeking knowledge, going in. What have they done? They left practicing their religion because of a woman. She looked at him, she smiled. And what happened? He fell into Hajj. He fell in. And he left the masjid. He left Quran, he left Salah, he left all of these things. And he started to accommodate for her. He started to accommodate for her. I want to mention to you guys, inshallah ta'ala, some statements of the Salaf to show you the danger of the woman, because sometimes we take it for granted. When I say woman again, I mean the fitna that can come from a woman, not the woman in and within herself. The Mawla of Hani said, majority of the sins of the people of the hellfire is due to women. Majority of the reason why people are going to end up in the hellfire is because of women. And you guys want to have friends that are females. You want to follow women on Snapchat. You want to follow women on Instagram. You want to like her posts. Sometimes, you know what? I think people on Instagram are the dumbest. Guys who follow girls on Instagram are the dumbest, yeah? I used to follow some brothers just to keep an eye on them. And a lot of them don't realize, well, they do later, but when you like something, it shows up on everyone else's feed. So when I'm just keeping an eye on who are these guys liking, who they follow, I'm saying, wow, they're liking some very filthy pictures, very filthy things, right? So I'm saying that's stupid. But the point is, the brothers, when they look at that girl's picture, they forget, right, I've got the imams that follow me. The brothers who are all in the masjid, the dua, all the elders, my mom is following me, and he just clicks like. And he forgets that he's just like something filthy. And that's what happens. And these people, the reason they are going to end up in the hellfire is because of these sins, the sins with the women. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you guarantee me two things, if you guarantee me that you will protect two things, I will guarantee you Jannah. Guarantee what is between your two lips, your tongue. Don't run it too much. And that which is between your legs, your private parts. Your private parts, because those are the things that are going to lead to the hellfire. And the majority of the people, they will end up in the hellfire because of this. Because of their tongues and because of that which is between their legs. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, rahimahullah, a student of the Sahaba, a righteous man, when he reached the age of 80, look at what he said. Is an 80-year-old man running after women? No, he's weak. His desires are weak. His drive is not as strong as a young brother who's roasting and just, he doesn't have that same kind of fitna. At the age of 80, he said, there is nothing that I fear more than the women. Nothing that I fear more than the women. At this age, he was blind from one eye. Ata ibn Abi Rabah, he said, if I was trusted with the treasury of the Muslims, all of the Muslim money, the zakat, this is money that, even if you mess up one penny intentionally, hellfire. Because you're playing with the money that belongs to Allah, and the right of Allah is over this money. And it belongs to the people who it needs to be given to. He said, I would rather be entrusted with the treasury and I'll be trustworthy. But he said, I don't even trust myself being alone for a second with an ugly woman. With an ugly woman. That's how they were. He was again a student of the Sahaba. And brothers are out here saying, we're just friends. It's just following her. She gives beneficial reminders on Snapchat. And this is a new thing I noticed coming up. Some of you may not be able to relate, but we've got practicing brothers following sisters who are wearing niqab on Snapchat and Instagram because they're giving reminders. Bro, it's because you like her voice. You can't, I saw some heads go down quickly. Yeah, unfollow her. Because she's telling you that, fear Allah, brother. There's no fear. There's no fear. She's like, brother, wallahi, in Jannah. And we know what you're thinking about in Jannah. So this is dangerous, wallahi. Shaitan comes at you from all these various different angles. I want to mention to you something that Sa'id ibn Musayyib said. The same Imam who said that at the age of 80, he said, there's nothing I fear more than the women. Look at what he said. He said, Shaitan will try to come to you from every angle. When Shaitan sees you, look at you, brother, you're growing your beard. Your trousers above your ankles. You're coming to the masjid. You're praying salah. You're giving sadaqah. You've left behind haram. You're memorizing Quran. Qiyamul layl, you're praying. You want to go umrah. You want to go hajj. You're working halal. You leave behind drugs. You leave behind music. You start to change. You start to turn good, He said when Shaitan realizes he can't stop you from doing any of that good, he can't stop you doing any of that with any evil, then he sends his main weapon. He sends the heavy artillery. He sends the woman. He sends the woman. And do you know why he sends the woman? Brothers, do you know why he sends the woman? Because Shaitan in and within himself is not strong. Shaitan in and within himself is weak. As Allah told us, إِنَّ كَيْدَ الشَّيْطَانِ كَانَ ضَعِيفًا. Allah said, verily the plotting of Shaitan, the planning of Shaitan is weak. That's right, Shaitan, your greatest enemy, who wants to take you to the hellfire. Allah said Shaitan is weak. He doesn't have power over you. Shaitan, he doesn't. But when it came to the woman, if like I said, not all women do this, but if this woman, she plots, she says, okay, I like his car, okay, he looks nice, maybe he'll get me a nice ring or whatever. She's gonna plot, she's gonna try to get you, she's gonna try to tempt you, she's gonna come out. When she's wearing makeup, she's plotting. Why is she coming out of the house with makeup? She wants the attention, she's plotting. Why is she wearing them tight clothes? She's plotting. She wants the man to look at her. She's waiting to come across the right guy so she can get him, right? So when that happens, when she does that, Allah said, Inna kaydi kunna azim. When the woman plots, Allah said her plotting is azim, it's mighty. Pay attention. If the strongest man in the ends told you, yeah, this guy is strong, are you not going to think, yeah, he's strong because he knows what he's talking about? But if a weak guy tells you he's strong, you're going to say, bro, you don't even know what strength is. You can't even lift up a paper. Man can't even carry a pen. And you're telling me strong. But when the guy who's the bodybuilder in the ends, he comes and says, this guy's strong, you're going to take it serious, right? So one of Allah's names is Al-Azim, the mighty. That's one of Allah's names. So Allah is Al-Azim. He is the mighty. And He's affirming that when the woman plots, it's mighty. So it's strong. Meaning you can't escape that. You're going to get trapped. No matter how righteous or pious you think you are, you will get trapped. But shaitan, he's weak. Shaitan, if he comes to you, whispers to you, what do you say? You say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. He runs away. The adhan, you do the adhan. You say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. What did the Prophet say? Shaitan runs away and he's farting as he runs away. Shaitan, you guys know this? Shaitan is bursting from his back end as he's running away. He's popping it, in other words. He's running away. The woman, when she comes, you say, A'udhu billah. She'll tell you, brother, don't say A'udhu billah. You A'udhu billah. You A'udhu billah, brother. Or she'll be like, me? A'udhu billah? Me? And she'll start like, wait, no, crying. Brother, feel emotional. Sorry, sister, I didn't mean like that. I was just trying to feel Allah. Brother, you really think I'll do that? And next thing you know, she did that. You did that. It's a problem. It's a problem. So for that reason, shaitan, because he is weak, inherently he's weak. Are you paying attention? You guys are talking again. Don't make me bring you out. Shaitan, because inherently he's weak. He's da'if. And Allah found his dua for us. But the woman, the udma of her planning, the plotting is mighty. Allah affirmed it. So for that reason, you need to be careful. I'm going to tell you a story. I'll show you a practical example of this. Our teacher, Ustad, our Shaykh Abdurrahman Hassan Hafidullah, told us of a story. A brother called him. This brother, he was struggling to find a job. He wanted a halal job. Every job he was getting was haram, 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 haram. And imagine, you need to feed your family, your kids. And every job is haram, haram, haram. And he left all those jobs one by one. He starved, he struggled, he was broke. But he did it for the sake of Allah. That's how righteous he was. So one day he calls Ustad Abdurrahman, he tells him a story. He says, basically, I finally found a job in a halal pizza place. Now, is a pizza place, it's a respectable job in the sense that it's halal living. But is that the kind of thing that every one of you would be like, yeah, I want to be a pizza man, Mawla? And does anyone say, Mom, one day, I will be the margarita man? And does anyone say that? No. But this brother, it was like that. He was like, I'm the pizza man. And you know why he was happy? You know why he was happy? Because it was halal. It was all halal. Shaitan was trying to get him to do haram. He couldn't get him to do haram. So, Allah gave him this job. So he's doing a pizza delivery, he's not getting paid much, getting a little salary, but he's like, I'm good, my wife is good, my kids are good, everything's good. One day, knock, 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 he brings the pizza. The door opens. And a naked woman is standing there. MashaAllah. You know what? That reaction, may Allah keep you pure upon your fitrah. Ameen. MashaAllah. Ameen. The brothers, we can see, the elders, how, it might sound funny, but it's not funny. This is proof that their reaction is how we should have reacted. The fact that we didn't react like that is proof that our fitrah has been corrupted because of our sins. We've become desensitized to the sins because of the stuff we've probably been watching online. And things like that. May Allah protect you guys from this fitna, Ameen. There was a filthy, disgusting, naked woman standing there. It was a game. What did she do? She said to him, I don't have money to pay for the pizza. He dropped the pizza, went in, and you can all guess what happened. They did the filthy crime. He said to our Shaykh on the phone, he said, she recorded it. And she sent the footage around. I lost my job, my marriage is breaking down, my kids, everything I'm about to lose. Shaitan. Look, think about this. You think this is the most halal job? Wallahi, pizza man. Halal pizza as well. Just go into the house, knock, take it, give me a little, 20p tip, whatever. But when Shaitan can't get to you through any other means, he will come to you from the women. So for this reason, and I want to bring the sisters in now for a second. I'm going to divert my attention to them. Sisters, and we'll end on this inshallah ta'ala. Sisters, you need to cover. You need to cover, okay? There's many reasons, there's many ways to protect the men and the women from actually falling into, zina and whatever with each other. But one of the primary things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us to lower our gaze, He told the women to cover. He told the women to cover, because if a man looks at you, remember Imam Ibn Qayyim said that no one ever did a sin except that he looked at it first. If you robbed someone, you looked at what he had, right? So lower your gaze. When you slept with a woman, when you looked at whatever, it's what you look at, right? So lower your gaze. So the man's supposed to look down, and the woman's supposed to look down, but then occasionally the man might accidentally look up, right? So when he looks up, he shouldn't have anything to see. The woman should be covered. Should be covered head to toe, okay? With the jilbab at the very least, or the niqab. And that's the correct and the appropriate hijab. And sister, there is a benefit in this for you. Because the men, when they see you, and they see the way you look beautiful and pretty with your makeup, or your tight clothes, or even abaya, they've got these tight abayas, or whatever have you. When they see that, they are not looking at you as a woman, as a human being. Research and studies have been done and shown to prove that they are looking at you as a piece of meat. As Imam Al-Qahtani said it in his Nuniyah, he said, and just because time is running out, he mentioned that the men, when they're looking at the women, their example is like dogs that are looking at a piece of meat. They circulate around the meat. They will eat it, and they will not give you no money or no exchange. So the man is like a dog just going around you. He just wants to play. He just wants you. He wants your flesh. He wants to fulfill his desires with you. And studies have been shown that when men look at a piece of meat like a steak, the same part of their brain is activated when they look at a woman who's dressed in an inappropriate way. But when they look at a woman who's covered, he sees her as a human being. So this man, that's why he will have no respect for you or whatever have you. He'll mistreat you. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentioned 2 reasons for why the woman should be covered. He said, ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَن يُعْرَفْنَ فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. 2 reasons why you should be covered. So that you can be known as what? As a righteous woman, as a woman of piety. Pay attention. That doesn't mean that just because a woman is not wearing hijab, jilbab, niqab, that she is not a pious woman. The general rule is that the women who do cover are pious, but there are some women who might cover, but they might have corrupted hearts. While there are some women who may not cover, and their iman is 10 times, 20 times higher than us. But it's not the general rule. So you can be known as a woman who's chaste. A woman who's chaste, who's dressed in an appropriate way, will find a husband who will be a correct man. She'll find a man who fulfills the rights of Allah. If you fulfill the rights of Allah, He's going to fulfill your rights. But if you're not dressed in that way, you're not going to attract a brother who's praying 5 times a day, qiyamul layl, memorizing, right? Sisters are like, yo, I want to marry that guy who's going to change me. He doesn't want to look at you twice. Because he wants a woman that's going to help him in his akhirah. But if you dress correct, you're known, okay, yeah, that's the kind of woman the guy would want to marry. That's the kind of woman we protect and we respect in his society. Then Allah said the second reason is, فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنِ, so that you are not harmed. So that you are not harmed. Because a man will harm, he'll disrespect, he'll violate. 1 minute, if I could wrap up.
Salah موجود.
تفضل.
salah موجود. المغرب.